Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and the Phils absolutely rout the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 2 of the NLCS. It's a 10-0 win. It was a homer party. The offense was insane. Aaron Nola was great. Everything was incredible. And the Phillies, they're making history night in and night out of this postseason run. We'll talk about some of the points they've already hit and a question about the series in general. It might sound hasty, but is this a fair fight? We'll break it down on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. You're not going to want to miss a second of this run that the Philadelphia Phillies are on. It takes 2 seconds to subscribe to Locked On Phillies on YouTube, and you'll get notifications when new episodes are posted. So it'll keep you up to date on everything you need to know about your Fightins as they continue their warpath through the Major League Baseball postseason. It was absolutely unbelievable last night. Could have made some good money betting on it with our title sponsor today, because today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Now let's get the episode started and talk about last night. And it was just an unbelievable display of hitting by the Philadelphia Phillies. It didn't feel like a 10-0 win, though, because, frankly, Merrill Kelly only gave up a handful of hits. They just basically all happened to be home runs. 3 hits given up, 3 home runs. Like, when the first 3 hits you allow are 3 solo shots, it's kind of like, man, I just don't get it. How is this team doing this? They can't hit anything, but when they do, it's going out of the yard. Like, that's anomalistic, which, like, it's crazy. Kyle Schwarber's getting hot. 2 home runs last night. He had 1 in game 1. I mean, he is zoned in. It's almost like the Phillies have built this perfect, flawed roster, right? It's flawed in that this guy isn't playing well at this time, and that guy isn't playing well at that time. I mean, Bryce Harper's hurt to start the year. Trey Turner's cold to start the year, but then they turn it on when it counts. Kyle Schwarber's cold in the first 2 rounds, but you survive, and then you get to the championship series, and all of a sudden he's the greatest power hitter on earth again. Like, they have these weird ebbs and flows where they can frustrate you as individuals, but as a team, they cover up for each other so well. When Kyle Schwarber's not going great, the rest of the team is going great. When he's going great, I mean, guys can have rougher stretches. Alec Boehm has gotten better, and the bottom of the lineup hasn't been as good. Like, that's the thing. It's crazy, like, how this team picks up for each other. And the pitching is still so good. One of the great postseason ERAs in the history of baseball. They're outstanding. And as good as Zach Wheeler has been this postseason, Aaron Nola has been even better. Like, he's got a sub-1 ERA in the postseason. Are you kidding me? Like, the second shutout of the postseason for the Philadelphia Phillies. The first one was against the Braves down in Atlanta in game 1 of the NLDS. And this is the most recent one, but this one a little bit less stressful. A 10-0 win for your Fightins. I mean, I just want to run through this box score real quick for you, because it's insane. A lot of things what the Philadelphia Phillies did in last night's game. First of all, of course, Aaron Nola gets props on the mound. He's had one of the great mental bounce backs I've seen in any sport ever. From what he was this regular season to what he's been this postseason is unbelievable. And last night, the line for Aaron Nola, when everything was all said and done, 6 innings, 3 hits allowed, no runs, 7 strikeouts. Beautiful. Jeff Hoffman, 2 strikeouts in his 1 inning of work. Matt Strahm, 1 strikeout in his 1 inning of work. Orion Kerkering, 3 strikeouts in his 1 inning of work to finish off the game. I mean, what a revelation he's been. This team is so much fun. And then you look at the guys with the bats in their hand, the position players, the hitters. Kyle Schwarber, 2 for 3. Jake Cave, 1 for 1 in his pinch hit appearance. Now, tried to stretch a double into a triple. It didn't matter at that point. It was just funny. But love Jake Cave's confidence there. He is batting 1,000 for the postseason now. Trey Turner, 1 for 2 with a home run. I mean, Kyle Schwarber, of course, his 2 hits, both solo home runs, just unbelievable. Bryce Harper, 1 for 4. Alec Boehm, 1 for 4. Bryson Stott, 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. Jay Trumito, 2 for 4 with a run scored. Brandon Marsh, 1 for 3. The only guys without a hit that started, Nick Castellanos, 0 for 2, and he had a walk. He also had an RBI. Johan Rojas, 0 for 4. Listen, Rojas is here for his defense. When the offense is playing like this, I don't care that he's an automatic out. Like, I really do not care. Now, he had a nice double in game 1. Like, he was a big part of the game 1 win in a tight game. Yeah, the big hit late in that one. So Rojas will do something every once in a while, but he's there to make catches like he did against Ronald Acuna in the 7th inning of game 4 of the NLDS. Like, that's why he's here, to play defense, and he's damn good at it. So I'm cool with that. But this team is just amazing. I mean, I don't even know how to talk about this team without sounding like I'm an overconfident fan. But go ahead and do me a favor and seek out some national shows. Seek out some national articles. Go check out The Athletic. Go check out ESPN. All of that stuff, and see what they're saying about the Philadelphia Phillies. Because this is a time where it's like, man, this fairy tale, am I getting too high on this team? We'll talk more about the series a little bit later, and a thought about whether or not the series is a fair fight. And you might hear that and be like, well, all right, you're getting ahead of yourself. It's 2 games out of 7. You got to win 4 of them. You're only halfway to the win totals you need to even get to the World Series. Like, stop acting like you won it already. But look at how the national media is covering this team. The stuff the Philadelphia Phillies are doing right now, absolutely insane. It's unbelievable. This victory shirt has been getting worn out all year long, and I've been wearing this so much this postseason. No day so far better than today after that 10-0 win last night. And guess what? Before I jumped on to record this episode, I was sitting on my couch just now, and MLB Network was replaying the game. So I watched just like the first inning. I want to see the Trey Turner home run again. And listen to how loud that stadium was when he comes up after making an error in the top of the first and then hitting a home run in his first at-bat off Merrill Kelly, who he absolutely owns in his career, by the way. But do you know when that game was over? That game was not over when Trey Turner hit that homer. That game was not over when Kyle Schwarber hit both of his. The game wasn't over when the Phillies scored a bunch or whatever. I'm not saying it was still a game. I'm just saying those are not the points. I'll tell you when I realized that baseball game was over. Corbin Carroll leads off the game. He leads off much like he did in game 1. Finds a way on, even if it wasn't his best swing. Game 1, it was a broken bat looper over Bryson Stott's head off of a Zach Wheeler inside fastball. This one, he hits the ball directly to Trey Turner. Trey Turner doesn't attack it. It eats him up. Runner on first. Aaron Nola is terrible at controlling the running game. He's been great this postseason. He really has been. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but it's just the nature of what it's like. I don't know. Kyle Schwarber's been great in this series, but I'm not going to tell you he's a great fielder. There are just certain things that guys aren't good at. And one of Aaron Nola's things is controlling the running game. And Corbin Carroll is a guy who's been outstanding on the base pass this year. One of the most dangerous base stealers in all of baseball. And you have a spot where you get him on first base with no outs against Aaron Nola. And it's like, okay, well, there he goes. He's on second. He doesn't run at all. He doesn't steal at all. He stays put at first base. Aaron Nola gets the next 3 batters out, and you're moving on to the bottom of the first. They're scared. That's coward baseball. That's not ready for the moment baseball. That's Citizens Bank Park is messing with my head baseball. The fact that Corbin Carroll wasn't running there immediately said to me, oh, this team ain't ready. They're not. You've got the perfect scenario to do something, and you just choose not to do it for whatever reason. And maybe they saw something that he didn't get a good read off of, but that's when I realized that this series is different. This team in Philadelphia is different than that team in Arizona. Now, the next 2 games, you're going to have to go out to Arizona. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to have a preview of Game 3 as the series shifts out to the desert. But I see that and I see the complete negligence for one of the best players on your team doing one of the things he's best at, and I say, yeah, this team is a good team in Arizona, but they're young and they're not ready to be where they are right now. That's when that game was over to me. It's like, okay, they didn't show up. Eventually, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to break this one open. And I mean, 10 runs, I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody did. But yeah, it was an insane game 2. Loved everything I had to see in that one. And coming up, we're going to talk about some history that the Philadelphia Phillies have made. It's mind-numbingly good baseball that they're playing right now. I'm going to tell you all about it as we continue Locked On Phillies. First of all, I want to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. Okay, October baseball is back, and you can make your postseason debut with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You can join FanDuel today, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. What does that guarantee mean? Well, it means, let's say you bet $5 on Arizona last night. Like, I feel good about Arizona. They're going to bounce back. And then they get smoked. Well, you get the $200 in bonus bets anyway. Not a problem. It's win or lose. Even better, if you bet that 5 on Philadelphia last night, well, you make the money on that and you get the $200 in bonus bets too. So it's a win-win-win-win. It's awesome. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to create your new account. Then you can get in on the action from the first pitch until the final out. Bet on everything from strikeouts to home runs to who will win the game. And if you don't want to wait the whole game to get a W, well, predict what will happen next in the next at bat with quick bets. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. Step up to the plate this postseason with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right. I just want to talk a little bit about history. And I've got to give a big hat tip to Jayson Stark of The Athletic. I've had a chance to talk to Jayson a couple times over the course of my career. Actually, funny story. Back on opening day for the Philadelphia Phillies, the home opener, because they opened in Texas, but then they had their home opener in Philly. And I was there outside the Phillies dugout with Jayson Stark. And remember, it feels normal now, but the scoreboard in left field, the Phillies made huge renovations to it this offseason, made it much bigger. And Jayson Stark was sitting there marveling at it. He's like, I took a picture or a couple pictures of the scoreboard. Which one is better to post on my Instagram? And I was like, okay, I'll take a look at it for you, Jayson. So I helped Jayson Stark pick out his Instagram picture of the Phillies scoreboard to start the year. So I've had a chance to interact with Jayson a couple times, interview him, talk to him on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic on my radio job. And he does insane work. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. He had a great article in The Athletic. I say 100% go ahead and check it out because he does this weird and wild series where he talks about strange things going on in baseball. There's always strange things. So let's just run through. I want to highlight a couple stats here that he brings up as far as what the Phillies are doing that are historic. Okay, let's go with this. How dominant have the Phillies been this postseason and how in control have they been the whole time? There have been some games that have been like really stressful, right? A couple of those Atlanta games were stressful. Of course, the loss was stressful, but there were games where it was like, this does not feel in hand until the final out's recorded. Well, through the first 8 games of a postseason ever, the fewest plate appearances while trailing have been the 2023 Philadelphia Phillies. How many plate appearances do you think they've had behind in a game this postseason? They played 2 games in the CS, 4 games in the DS, so that's 6, and 2 more in the Wild Card Series. So 8 games. Take your guess. They've had 6 plate appearances trailing. That's unbelievable. Like, that's insane. It's by far the lowest ever. Now, the Rangers might beat them because the Rangers are on pace to beat that when they play Game 3 against the Houston Astros. But the next highest right now are the 2016 Indians with 27 plate appearances through their first 8. The Tigers in 1984 had 30. And those 2022 Phils are right there at 34. They're 4th place. Now, the Rangers are going to beat some of those teams, but the Phillies with 6 play, that's absurd. As close as some of these games might have felt at points, the Phillies have been up early and up often. That's great to see. Let's go ahead and see now. Some other cool stats from this. So the Phillies have outscored the Diamondbacks, Braves, and Marlins 46-13. That plus 33 run differential, it's the biggest in history for any team, not just in the first 8 games of a postseason, but any 8-game stretch of any postseason ever. That 33 plus run differential. That's awesome. I mean, out homering them 19-4 opponents, like that's insane. 15 home runs over the opposing pace over any 8-game span in the postseason. First time that's ever been done. 17-2 out homering those teams in their 6 home games. Like, yeah, no one's ever done that. That's crazy. I mean, that plus 15 home run differential at home, it's the greatest of all time. The next closest, 2017 Astros with 13. Oh, and who's in third place? The 2022 Phillies with 11. I mean, last year's team had all of these special things too. They were like close to historic. This team is last year's team on steroids. Not literally. Do not test them in Major League Baseball. They're not cheating. I promise. But they've been insanely good. I mean, Trey Turner's batting 500 this postseason. I don't know if you know this, because as Jayson Stark brings up in that article on The Athletic, like he talks about how there hasn't been as much buzz about a guy hitting 500 at this point of the postseason as there should be. But it's because Bryce Harper's a monster. Nick Castellanos is creating history, and Kyle Schwarber's starting to hit the ball out of the yard. And like all of these guys are on a next level tear. Just like, oh, and Trey Turner's also awesome. It's like, why are you not, like I think about it at his peak, like Mike Trout would play in the All-Star game. But you don't like focus just on Mike Trout because it's the damn All-Star game. As good as he is, or as good as he was like at his peak when he was first becoming Mike Trout, you focus on everybody because it was an all-star team. This Phillies team has Trey Turner, and he's been insane. Like his slash line, 500, 559, 967. That's otherworldly, especially against some of the best pitchers in the biggest spots in the postseason. I mean, that's insane. He's also got 3 home runs this postseason. The power's there. Like nuts numbers, but it gets lost in the shuffle because it's not just Trey Turner. It's everyone doing something historic. Like that's absurd. Like no one does that. The only players ever who have gotten 30 plate appearances or more in a postseason and batted 500 or better, Manny Ramirez in 2008 for the Dodgers, Billy Hatcher in 1990 for the Reds, Trey Turner for this year's Phillies. Like that's crazy. Like it's next level. It's insane. I mean, Kyle Schwarber has now homered in 5 league championship series in a row that he's played in. Like, okay, keep the stats coming. Only one player in history has more career home runs in the LCS than Schwarber now has. He's got 10, and Manny Ramirez has 13. Schwarber stays in Philly. I mean, he could keep doing this. And he's also now tied the record for the most home runs in a postseason, or in the postseason, by a lefty. He's tied Reggie Jackson, who, of course, Nick Castellanos tied, the first person to hit 5 home runs in a 3-game stretch since Reggie Jackson did it. Reggie Jackson hit 18 career postseason home runs as a lefty. Schwarber tied that with his second last night. Like that's absurd. I don't even know. I don't know how to break down any of this. Like this is just, imagine a team who was like really good defensively. The Diamondbacks are really good defensively. Perfect example. It's like their numbers are historic in this one facet of the game, or this player's numbers are historic. Like look at the season Ronald Acuna had. They were talking about him as an individual. And the Braves are a great offense too. So you can kind of talk about their team that way. Clearly didn't show up in October. That's why they're sitting at home playing golf right now. But anyway, we're not worried about the Braves anymore. We're worried about the Diamondbacks. But think about that existing and then 3 more guys on the team doing something historic and the team as a whole doing something historic and the pitching staff doing something historic. I mean, like all of this stuff going together and creating this whole like crazy firestorm around the Philadelphia Phillies that leads to a 2-0 NLCS lead. I can't gush enough about this team. It's reaching peak absurdity, how good they are at baseball. And it leads me into my question that we're going to round out with here as we wrap up today's episode. I'm going to get to this in just a second, but is this series a fair fight? It may sound like I'm being like unfair to the Diamondbacks who have earned their way here. And I'm going to be respectful in going about answering that question, but it's hard to say it feels like it right now. We'll discuss as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. All right, let's jump into Bird Dogs, okay? Bird Dogs is amazing. Like, they have the greatest short on planet Earth. They are this Philadelphia Phillies postseason run of shorts. They're just unbelievable. Okay, let's talk about all the things they do historically well, because the Phillies do so much stuff historically well. Well, bird dogs, first off, they make you look good. They're the all-time greatest at making your legs look good. You could have pencil legs, doesn't matter. Bird dogs fit great. They have this slim fit that's designed to make your thigh and leg look truly sculpted. That's awesome to have. Their stretch khaki shorts are designed to do just that. So go ahead and check them out. They have no stink. Okay. They make sure you smell good. Not only do you look good, but you smell good because they have the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. You want to be comfortable and all that? It's a lot to ask. The Bird Dogs is going to deliver. They invented cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They do everything. It's like, do you want great pitching, hitting, defense, everything? It's a lot to ask for from a baseball team. The Phillies are giving it to you. Do you want it to smell good, look good, feel good, play good, all that stuff? Bird Dogs? Yes, they do that for you too. And there's so many places you can wear them. You can wear them to a ball game. You can wear them to play in a ball game. You can wear them to the shore. You could wear them to a wedding. You could wear them to work. You can wear them anywhere. Like, listen, they got pants, they got shorts, they got everything. Check out Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout, and you'll even get a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. They're even giving you more than all that stuff I just listed. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle at checkout. Trust me, you won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. I absolutely guarantee you. Okay, I'm going to try and do this respectfully as possible here. But just so you know, like, I'm not the only one having this conversation. This is not because I host Locked On Phillies and I'm a Phillies fan and I love wearing this victory shirt and I'm just feeling myself a little bit. No, this is a valid question. Is this series a fair fight? Because right now it doesn't look like it. 5-3 in game one. It's tight, but it made it feel tighter than that game probably should have been. Phillies win anyway. 10-0 in game two. Diamondbacks just don't look like they're ready. They don't have pitching depth. You had to take these first two games because those are their best two bullets. And outside of them, you're getting Brandon Pfaadt next. He's okay. There's nothing special. After that, what, a bullpen game? Are they going to throw Gallen on short rest facing elimination if the Phillies win game three? Meanwhile, the Phillies have Ranger Suarez. They have Taijuan Walker, Michael Lorenzen, Christopher Sanchez, all of these guys who could possibly start games 4 and 5 and 3 and whatever. Now, Suarez will start game 3. But you have so much depth. The bullpen's been insane. There are so many guys in that bullpen with a 0 ERA. It's crazy. Aaron Nola is Zach Wheeler is like the 10th best ERA on the Phillies right now. That's insane considering how well he pitched. The Diamondbacks, their offense was not that good over 162. They're middle of the pack to lower third in average or power numbers or anything. Like, their offensive standing was right around middle to lower middle pack when it comes to baseball. The Phillies were in the top third and a lot of stuff. They're prepared for the moment. They were here last year. This is this Diamondbacks core's first trip deep into the postseason. Like, they don't know what it's like yet. And I brought this up earlier in a previous episode, and I'll bring it up here again. Somebody asked me, and it was an interesting question. Is this Diamondbacks team the Philadelphia Phillies team of last year? Final wildcard team, make it in, beat 2 division winners, feel like you're on top of the world, like have that momentum coming in, shock the world, all that stuff. And I said they might be. They very well could be. But is this Phillies team equal to the Padres of last year who got knocked off by that Phillies team? And they're just not. This team's on another level. They're a juggernaut. They're an unstoppable force of nature. I don't know how you could call this series a fair fight. It doesn't mean Arizona might not win a game out there. But how are you going to win 4 of 7 games against this Phillies team? Does that feel possible to any of you out there? Because it doesn't feel possible to me right now. And it's no disrespect to the Diamondbacks. I mean, you just knocked off the best team in baseball in 4 games. If you're the Philadelphia Phillies, talking about the series against the Braves, you just handled the other wildcard team in the Miami Marlins. I mean, it's not a fair fight. I love to see it because I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan. I don't think this series is going to go down as like the most boring of all time. Like, I do think the Diamondbacks have some fight in them. You saw it in game 1. If they're tight in a game, they're going to make you sweat it out a little bit. They deserve to be here. They are a quality team. But this year's Phillies team is playing on a level unlike we've seen maybe in baseball history. Like, they are in rare air. And the Diamondbacks are a good team. The Phillies are a historically great team right now. If that all shifts, I don't know. Like, I don't see that as a realistic thing that's going to happen. Arizona doesn't have the home field advantage that the Phillies have at Citizens Bank Park. They play in a big warehouse out there where nobody really, like, I don't want to say nobody cares, but it's not the same as Philadelphia. You don't have this raucous, ravenous fan base that wants to rip your head off the second you step foot within the city limits. No, it's Phoenix. It's different out there. So I don't know, man. I don't mean it as disrespect to the Diamondbacks who've had a nice year, but there's just, the Diamondbacks are like a featherweight world champion. Okay. Like, in your own right, great boxer. But if you had to fight Mike Tyson, you're going to get your teeth kicked in. The Phillies right now are Mike Tyson. And right now, the Diamondbacks, they look like they're going to need a dentist appointment when 4 games are over. But hey, things can change. Tomorrow, we're going to take a more detailed look at Game 3 and the road trip in general. I'm going to talk to you about a bunch of stuff going on with Ranger Suarez, and we're going to figure out who Brandon Pfaadt is and if we should be worried about him or not as Phillies fans. But it doesn't feel like a fair fight in this series to me. And I don't know how the Diamondbacks could possibly recover from the beatdown they've just been given through the first 2 games. You got to try and steal one on the road. They didn't. And now all the pressure is on them. Like, all the pressure in the world is on them going back home. They better hope they're much better at home, because right now, again, the series doesn't look like a fair fight. And the Phillies look to be on an absolute collision course with a team out of Texas and the World Series. But 2 more to go. 2 more wins to go. Don't start counting chickens before they're hatched. We'll focus on Game 3 tomorrow. That's all. As the dog goes crazy in my hallway, that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube. Even the dogs can't get enough of Locked On Phillies. Appreciate you checking us out very much. And I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.